In today's podcast, we're going to be discussing the top 5 things to consider when becoming a solo esthetician. But first, I'm Victoria, a licensed esthetician with over 9 years of experience. I have grown my account to over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and I only work 2 days a week and make over $200,000 a year. So let's jump right into it. I'm so excited to cover this topic because if you are a solo esthetician, or if you are considering becoming a solo esthetician, or you are newer in the industry, I hope that this video can help you a lot. So the first thing I want to talk about is patience. So it's going to take a lot of patience to get clients. So whether this is something that you are taking, you're going solo for the first time and you're taking clients from the previous spa that you worked at, or you're starting from complete scratch, it's going to take patience.
Yeah, I always say the two most important things across the board when building a business is patience and consistency. I heard somebody recently say not just consistency, but like quality consistency. You don't want to just be throwing things out there. And I think consistency, it can go across the board from posting on social media to word of mouth when it comes to like handing out flyers. There's a million different marketing avenues we've talked a lot about on this podcast before, but I'd even say the consistency of getting your hands on as many faces as possible. We're currently in the process of bringing on a team member at Skin by You, and our biggest piece of advice for her is just keep giving facials. You need to be extremely consistent, even if you're not booked in the beginning. And I think you did this really well, and we did because we were doing a lot of content days in the beginning. That was how we did all of our marketing. But what that really did for you was really just get to keep on putting your hands on faces and get you into a good flow and get you extremely comfortable. In the beginning, we also did for a few of those facial clients that we did free content days with, I'd also have you do a consultation in front of me. And I'd be pretending to set up so it didn't feel awkward, but you would give people also a skin consultation. And that also, you were consistently doing those over and over and over again to get that practice in and get those reps in to become an expert in that.
Yeah. And you have to know that when you first open your business, whether you are coming from a spa, like I said, some clients will automatically follow you, but some people have trust issues of following to a new space. So maybe they want to give it a few months to make sure that you're settled and established in your business. So I think that we have this common conception that clients are just going to follow us no matter what. And yes, they will, but it might take some time. And in the beginning, you're figuring out your expenses, what you need to bring on, what's important. So all these things that when you open up your own business, you're trying to figure out the routine of things, and you're not going to have it figured out in the beginning, even if you did work at a previous spot. And even if you're starting from scratch, I know that a lot of people go into it and they say, I'm just going to post consistently. I'm going to make sure that I have friends and family come in, and that's completely fine because in the beginning, we are building through word of mouth or whatever it is, your main source of marketing. But just know it is slow in the beginning. And this is something that I experienced personally, opening up my business in a new town, not knowing a single soul and not even having a base clientele to bring into my business. And if I wasn't consistent and I wasn't posting or figuring out ways to do better, you have to think outside of the box when you own your own business. And that's really important to have that drive, have that passion. So you have to know that you're not just going to start your business and it's going to be easy peasy. You have to put serious work, and you're going to be actually working more than a 9-to-5. So I know it's exciting that you own your own business, but oh my gosh, the amount of nights and time that, sleepless nights that we had of opening up our own business to even just seeing if we're going to be able to keep the lights on.
Yeah. And I think there's a big difference with what you're saying is there's a big difference between patience and waiting. You can't be waiting around. You need to be patient, but you need to consistently put that work in all aspects of your business. But yeah, I just want to make sure I touch on that patience doesn't mean you're waiting. Doesn't mean you're waiting and you're not going to say, oh, in 3 or 4 months, Victoria said, I just need to be patient. Yes, you do need to be patient because this is a long game when you're opening up your own business. This is a passion of yours. There's a lot of learning to do when it comes to taxes and bookkeeping and consultations and insurance and mistakes that you might make along the way, lines that you're thinking about carrying. But let's make sure you have patience, but you're not just sitting around and waiting for clients to come knocking on your door because they never will.
In the first year, just remember, it's learning and building with your business. So the first year is going to be your foundation of your business. So just remember that. Keep on going. It's going to take a lot of work. And if you own your own business, you know what this means. But I think that's all that we wanted to talk about on that topic. So we're going to go into the next one, that there's a lot of overhead. I think this is something that when you see these estheticians posting how much I make in a day, you shouldn't look at that number and think that that's profit. Number one, I think that there's a lot of misleading information on the internet. And of course that you can make amazing money, but just remember that there is cost to run a business, your booking system, the lights, your retail products, and what it takes for the supplies of your facials. Yep. So just know that when you're looking at these numbers, it is really expensive. I mean, I remember we made our first $10,000 a month, and I was like, where did all of our money go? That was a lot of money, and we constantly were reinvesting in our business. But retail orders are a huge part of your business. So just know that, you may see these numbers, but it does take a lot of work to get to the profit margins in your business.
Yeah, the retail is interesting because, of course, you do profit on retail, right? You should be in the green and making money. But the hard part about retail is you place an order for a month. So you place a big order, maybe between $1,000 and a couple $1,000s in the beginning. And you don't make that money, sometimes to 35, 45 days out. And you're making it at small increments at a time. So it's easy to think, here's some influx of money, let's go and start this new venture, let's try this new thing in business, and then when that next retail order comes and it just slaps you in the face. So I mean, we weren't the most responsible financially when opening up. That's still not our strongest suit. We are bringing on a CFO for that reason. It's just not maybe another video will talk about all the things you can outsource as an esthetician, because we outsource a lot when we're not good at it. But talking about with us reinvesting all that money in the beginning, and a lot of people do. And I think that's something that when you see those big numbers, and when we hit our first $10,000 month and we were like, where's our money? It's like, oh, we put it all back in. So then, a year later we can hit our first $15,000, $18,000, $20,000 a month. And depending on where you are in business, you can position yourself to have better profit margins and also not try to just hyper grow and be a lot, maybe booking services that have really low, the better margins, like waxing has amazing margins. I think brows probably has pretty good margins as too. There's a lot less tools and things you have to purchase. But just remember that, like you mentioned, that it's not all profit. There is a lot of overhead. And when you see these numbers online, these girls are also investing a lot into their business to make those months. I mean, we've posted before that we've done $3,000 days, and yes, it's amazing to hit those $3,000 days, but we've had to spend $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, a month into growing this business into a place to be able to sell that much in a day. So depending on where you are in business, there is good profits in this business. Don't, not come into it because of that. We make great money and we're really happy. But just like you mentioned, I think just be careful about what you see on the internet.
Yeah. And I think the biggest takeaway that the biggest takeaway is that learn to be good at managing your monthly expenses, and that's for you figuring out how much your supplies cost, how much you're typically after that few month mark, how much money are you placing in retail every single month, and just putting together a budget for yourself is really important. How much you pay yourself out, that can help you a lot so that you're not constantly seeing this influx of money and it's going out again, and you're saying, where did all my money go? So that would be a little tidbit for you to figure out, even if that's somebody you have to hire on to help you manage your finances. But again, there is a lot of money to make in the aesthetics industry, but it is something when you're beginning your business that it's something to take account into.
Yep. Bonus tip there. If you haven't already, mostly everybody has, but separate your business and your personal. You have to have an LLC if you're, getting a spot, but have a business bank account, and you could do that through anybody. We use Chase, but immediately separate that money as quick as possible. And that'll create less of a headache for you. It'll help you track things a lot better. I mean, I'm sure our accountant has loved us from the beginning because we've separated everything so harshly. He never has to ask, what was this for? Is this personal or business? He knows that we only put business things on the business card. In the beginning, there was a few mistakes here and there, but for the most part, we've learned pretty quickly to keep those things completely separate. So he knows anything's on there. If he needs to know what it's for or what category it needs to go into, he automatically knows it is a business expense. So if you haven't done that already, make sure you do that. That helps a lot when it comes to budgeting and then paying yourself, because you don't need some fancy payroll in the beginning. It's called an owner's payout or something like that, where basically you could just Zelle money from your business account to your personal account. This was, you could talk to your own, accountant, but this is what our accountant recommended us in the beginning. But that just helped us separate everything and see how much money that we are using for personal and all the money that we could keep in that business account. So that was a separate little tip there, but yeah, you could jump on to the next one.
That's so important. Number 3 is that you are going to be multiple roles when you own your business in the beginning. So what this means is that you're going to be the bookkeeper per se. You're going to be you're going to be placing retail orders. You're going to be doing laundry. You're going to be every single role within your business. You're going to be the receptionist. There's a lot of roles when you open your business. And this is why I say you work way more than a 9-to-5 when you first start your business.
Yep. Yeah. And I think though in the beginning, it's really important to do all of those roles and to give everything a chance, understand how it all works. And for us, we're business scalers. We really wanted to scale the business really early on. So it was important for us to immediately find people to then do those roles for us as much as we could. And we still do a lot ourselves, but we are continuously hiring and trying to find people to help us out. But in the beginning, do everything and figure out how it works. Understand the ins and outs. So if you go to pay somebody, you're never bamboozled and you never get kind of screwed over because you already understand how that works. So in the beginning, do some bookkeeping yourself, right? And we hired our bookkeeper on like really early because Victoria and I, we also were doing social media at the same time. So we were doing kind of influencer and brand deals. And I'm like, Victoria, we have 2 businesses between the brand deals and you being in person. We can't handle bookkeeping. It's just it's a tedious task that can be really overwhelming. And that was one of the first things we outsourced was bring on an accountant to do our bookkeeping for us. And that also helps you when you get to tax time.
Yeah. And bring on one thing at a time. I think it can get really overwhelming if you're delegating too much work in the beginning, because you need to figure out the rhythm of your business and figure out those holes, just like with retail sales and everything that goes on with your business. You have to figure out those holes that fill in those gaps that can make your life easier. And for us, that was the first step. And it really trickled into one by one. I mean, to this day, we still do our own social media because I think that's something that we can really bring our own personal touch and our branding, and that it's us, on social media.
And we're good at that.
Yeah. And we're good at it. So it's not something that we're like, handle it to somebody else. And I think that you just have to view your business as, what am I not good at and where can I delegate other work to? Because I know a lot of estheticians that do their own bookkeeping in the beginning and they're amazing at it. That's just not something that I wanted to spend my extra time on. And very quickly we realized that we should pass that on. And it was a very organic situation because it was somebody that was referred to us. And, just always make sure that everything feels right too. I mean, and you're going to make mistakes in the beginning, but we made a lot of mistakes in the beginning. But we also trusted our gut with a lot of different things.
Yeah. And I think things like social media is a good one to talk about. I think I know that a lot of people ask, who can you help run my social media? I need someone to help to run my social media. But if you don't know what your brand is, you don't understand the vision, you don't know what type of content resonates, how are you going to hire? Now you're just trusting somebody that is going to sell you that they know how to book clients. They know what people want. They know what, and a lot of these companies and people that run social media, they know, but do they always specifically know for your industry in your city with your clientele? And for us, it took maybe about a year into business where we brought on a video editor. And what made it so easy to bring on a video editor, at that point, we made hundreds of Instagram reels. So when I went and I use Upwork is how we find a lot of our talent. But I went on Upwork and I'm like, this is the type of videos that we create. I'm looking for an editor who can do this and kind of follow along the brand. And there was people that didn't work out. There was editor, I didn't find him on my first try, but I found an amazing editor who now works for us very consistently. And he knew the brand and the vision. So I didn't have to find it with him.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways, for building a website, for social media, for just building graphics on Canva, it's really easy to waste a lot of time and money if you don't know who you are and your business is,
Yeah.
and you don't know why you're doing something. Because imagine going to a graphic designer, a Canva designer, and saying, I want a graphic that says benefits of monthly facials. And they're like, okay, what's it for? I just see other people make that. So I just want to have one on my own.
Yeah.
So now you're paying for something, you post it on your feed, it does nothing for you. You wasted your time. The graphic designer never got to excel because you're just telling them to make you something. So those things are really important to think about, of figuring them out yourself, figuring out that brand and in your audience, and then going and outsourcing. So timing is key.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that you should really consider too, is looking at your branding and thinking of, okay, what does that even mean for myself? What are my colors? What is my purpose with my Instagram? Do I want to be educational? Do I just want to make relaxing videos for people to book with me? I mean, obviously all those things correlate, but what can you see yourself really excelling at with content? Because consistency really is key when you're opening up your own business. I mean, there's a time to kind of take a step back and relax because you have your books filled. And, of course, we're always looking for new opportunities, new clients in some, seasons of our life, but there will be a time for you to quote unquote take a step back and be able to kind of just enjoy the ride instead of being in this crazy, overwhelming moment.
Yep. And we talk a lot about that in previous podcasts. If you're looking for a free resource, we've dove into this topic a million different times. If not, go check out our Patreon. We'll put the link down below. It's a huge community, over 1,500 members currently. There's over 120 videos up there. A video comes out every single week where we deep dive specifically on every topic that we believe is going to help you build and excel and grow your business. The Patreon is something that when we built something that we wish we had in that first year of business at a price point we could afford. Mm-hmm. So this is that for you. It's a subscription. You can also reach out and ask questions or request videos. We also sprinkle a little stock footage in there for you. If you're struggling with creating content on social media, you can jump in there and use that stock footage to help. Literally it's the footage that helped us book clients when we first started. So if you're not in the Patreon already, jump in down below. There's some amazing reviews. People are extremely happy. Our average membership is probably 9 or 10 months. People stick around when they jump in because their business grows when they're a part of that community. So yeah, we could jump into that next one. I had to mention that there.
Yes, absolutely. So the fourth one is going to be, you are going to be working more than a 9 to 5. And this is something that we kind of went over in the last topic, which it does trickle in. And obviously this is an important topic because we clearly talked about it in some of our previous points. But yeah, when you own your own business, you are up 24/7. You're always thinking of the next way you're going to be able to book a client, marketing resources of how am I going to market constantly 24/7. So you are going to be working way more than a 9 to 5 job.
Yeah. And I think this is where you really have to think about a passion for the business. This is why we teach people to niche down specifically. So they're enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah.
And yes, I think social media and business owners kind of give this a little bit of a bad rep by being on vacation and pretending to take calls and emails and texts or promoting things, which we don't live our life like that so much. When we take a vacation, we always think about business because we love business, not because we have to be. And we're also very present with our family. The first year in business, we did spend all of our mental energy on the business and getting it off the ground, but we knew it was going to be for a short time because our end goal, we're not people who are, trying to reach the moon and make $1 million a year. We know that'll happen eventually, but we also knew when to kind of pump the brakes and make sure we're present in our marriage and with our kids, which is the priority. We started this business to spend more time with them. And so the minute we felt like, it's really easy it's a slippery slope to kind of chase down the $1 million a year. And for us, we let that go. But anyways, with all that being said, I think it is really important in the beginning that you have to give it all. You have to be thinking about it constantly. This is your passion. This is your business, but also know it doesn't always have to be that way. And that's why I say social can give it a bad rep because it makes it almost feel like a negative thing that the life of a business owner is always working.
Yeah.
And it's really not that way. I think that as much as you want to give it and as much as it needs to be given that time and energy, it is, but it doesn't need to be something that you're stressing about constantly or that you can't be present with your friends or family or on vacation when that's really needed.
Yeah, I think about it like when you have kids, you clean one room and then another one gets destroyed. It's like you're constantly having to do something and nothing's ever going to be perfect, but you have to constantly, whether you're doing laundry and then the next hour or the next day you have to make 3 Instagram reels for your content. Maybe the next day you're focusing on getting 3 new Google reviews. I mean, there's always something to be doing as a business owner. Clients are always texting you. There's never a dull moment. I mean, I always laugh that I don't know, for some reason, I have all my clients text me at once, and it's like,
when it rains, it pours.
Yes. And I mean, I could tell you right now 5 things that I need to do with my business, and it's just constantly there. And I think that it's important to know that you can be so grateful, but be so overwhelmed at the same time. And that's going to happen when you have your own business. And I think that, again, glamorizing the life of a business owner can be a little deceiving if you're just seeing little snippets. It's just like Instagram. You see the best parts of people's lives. And it's really important to know that when you get into this industry, it is going to be overwhelming. You're going to have, last week, I was like, oh my gosh, this was such an amazing day. And then the next day I was feeling discouraged for some reason. And there's just always something that is going to be present when you own your own business. But again, it's the beauty. Would you rather work for somebody else and not be happy? Or would you rather have this? It's all about that perspective. Would you rather have a beautiful life where you're able to build it yourself and building your own stresses versus somebody else's?
Yeah. And I think, like I said, going back into those niches and passions are extremely important.
Niching down is so important.
Yeah, there's those statistics that over 50% of business fail in the first 2 years. And I showed you recently that in the first 5 years, it was like 75% of those business fails. And I mean, we always hear the first 2 years and 50%, but it gets even worse. It's like marriage. Like the honeymoon phase. The odds are against you, right? And I think finding your passion and finding rhythms, and the deeper you get into business, the better you find systems so that you're not stressing and you're not frantic all the time. And these are the not so glamorous parts of business, but they really are make or break. And the best business owners that we know that are at scale, that are doing over $500,000 a year, have really good systems, and they still get the stresses. They still get things can get overwhelming, but they have such amazing systems and teams in place that they don't need to be running around frantic all the time. And that just takes time in business. I mean, we're almost 4 years in now, and we're getting in a lot better routines. We've built a business that creates less stress. That's also really important. Mm-hmm. We talk about this a lot, about building a premium brand and charging high prices. We've built a business around that we don't need to stress. It's the reason why we don't sell retail online currently. If we add that on, we're adding one major big stress that's always looming over your head anytime somebody buys a product, which we're not against, but we are really for building a system for that and not adding more things onto your plate when you're already overwhelmed and have to send client follow-ups, have to check in on people, have to rebook, have to change schedules on people. So yeah, just be careful of that and understand that there is some amazing systems and they take some time to build.
Yes. And number 5 is you're going to have to be consistent on social media. This is unfortunately the world that we live in, and I know it's overwhelming. I know you hate it. I know you are not good at it, but if this is something that you're not good at, make sure that if you are passionate about learning it, it's going to take time. If you look at my posts in the beginning, they were awful. And this is something that I continuously practiced and got better at. And I'm still not the best at it, but once I found my groove, I found out what worked and what books clients, what does well on Instagram. But consistency is so key. And that's not just with Instagram. It's with Google reviews. It's being consistent with your services and what you have to offer for your business.
Yeah, I know that there's a lot of ways to market. I think in the beginning, just like we were mentioning of mastering something before you move on to something else, I think mastering and understanding social media is really important, and posting consistently, at least in the beginning, to get your brand out there, find your brand identity, find your place, find your clientele is really important. Long term, I don't think that Instagram should be this big scary thing that you feel the need to post all the time. We've talked to business owners now that have a really booked clientele and they're not looking to create any brand online online. So I'm like, why are you stressing about Instagram? Like, just get a photographer to come in and post a photo once a week.
Yeah.
And that's just fine. Just so if people Google you or they Instagram you, they know you're still in business is the main thing. You know, just throw some stuff on stories every once in a while. Though long term, that's just fine. But in the beginning, you do need to understand and utilize the best free marketing tool on the planet. And it's not that scary and overwhelming. It doesn't take all this craziness. It's really simplicity and it's consistency and showing yourself, showing your brand, showing the services that you offer. And this doesn't, like I said, it doesn't need to be some big, everything doesn't need to be perfect. There's no perfect hooks. You shouldn't be looking for virality. Just build that digital storefront is extremely important in the beginning.
Yeah. And just remember, Instagram may be annoying, but it's free. It's free marketing for your business. Starting your Google My Business profile, which is where you can start getting reviews and getting your name out there for when people search your services. That is also a free tool. Then you can explore into having a website that's SEO friendly and paying for those services as your business goes on. There are so many other ways to market yourself besides Instagram. And I think you have to just look at the resources when you're building. You're not going to have a ton of money to reinvest in your business. So find those ways that you can really put yourself out there. And again, you may not be the best. That's why I always say, like, you could even download Etsy digital downloads for Canva and just put in your own information on there. It can still look pretty. It can have all the information. Just know that there's growing pains with your business. And if you're currently working for somebody else, this is something where this is a perfect opportunity for you to be one step ahead of everybody else, because you can have this practice as you're building. You're obviously getting all your practice with faces and working in the treatment room, but you also need your practice on social media. So make sure that you take advantage of that time, whether you're in school as well. That's a really important time as well. But yeah, there's so many ways that we can build. If you haven't started, this is your chance to start now. And it's okay to feel behind and feel like you don't have it all together. But that's just the reality of owning your business. You're not going to feel like you have it all together all the time. I don't even think I can recall one moment where I felt like I had it together all the time.
Yeah. And if you're new here onto this podcast, go back and dive into some of the old podcasts that we have with guests. I think those are amazing. Victoria's done a really good job at kind of interviewing a lot of the bigger estheticians in the space and hearing their story, hearing how they started, hear what marketing tactics work for them. And it's a little bit different for everybody. Everybody started with different things. Some people went right out of school. Some people came from a med spa. Some people came from parents. You know, there's all different unique stories that people got in. So if you haven't already, go back and listen to some of those. They're in the what is the playlist category?
Skincation.
The Skincation category. So go back and dive in. Today, Victoria is doing another interview with Michael Razanow. We'll have to ask him how to say his last name. But we're really excited for that podcast. It'll be out the following week after you listen to this podcast. But dive into those. That's so much free education there, even with the podcast as a whole. In your Besthetician playlist, we have over 70 episodes now. Dive back in and listen to some of those. We sprinkle such amazing information in every single, it's not sprinkled. Some episodes, that's all it is just hardcore, what we've been through, what mistakes that we've made, and how you can avoid it. But yeah, if you have any questions on this specific topic that you want us to dive in more, we will make a follow-up, maybe do another 5 things that you need to learn when it comes to opening up your business. But yeah, you can end us out here.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to today's podcast. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and also join our Patreon. And we'll see you in the next episode.